Our 11 Investigates team continues to look into last weekend's mass shooting at the Old West End Festival. And while the city says the violence was between rival groups, our team has labeled it as gang violence. Lead investigator Brian Duggar continues to dig into this story, and we'll have more on Toledo's current gang landscape coming up at 6. But right now he joins us with a preview. And this really seems to be kind of a political reluctance to call this a gang shooting. We saw at the news conference the other day, the police chief called it rival groups. And we've actually had a lot of people in the community reach out to us saying, why aren't you calling it gangs? Why are you calling it groups?
Yeah, I think people in the community want us to kind of label it what it is. And I think political leaders, they might be a little scared of that word. When you talk about gangs, possibly people in the community might think that there's these roving bands of armed groups that are going to terrorize the city.
But we know it's not a book club, okay? We know
Right.
It's not a knitting club. They're gangs.
Yeah, and I mean, there's clear evidence and multiple people that I talk to with knowledge of the Toledo gangs. I mean, there are probably about 30 to 35 different groups in Toledo, and you've got the main groups like the Crips and the Blood and the Folk. Chicago is influencing Toledo with the Disciples, the Latin Kings, the Latin Counts. So we know there are multiple groups in Toledo, and over the years they kind of become hybrid. Somebody even told me that it's not unusual now for a member of a Crips faction to get in a fight with a member from a different Crips faction. So there's these hybrid groups. They're not maybe like it was back in the day where you had the three big nations,
right.
Bloods, Crips, and Folk. And
now there's some, there are some commonalities in how they operate. It reminds me of some documentaries I've even watched recently on the mafia. And one of the main rules with the mafia and with gangs, no matter which gang you're in, is you don't talk to the cops. Snitches get stitches. And so that makes crimes like this Old West End shooting difficult to solve when it comes to gangs.
I think it does become difficult, and I think what we've seen and what we've heard from members of the community is that there's not a ton of trust between the community and police in some cases. And I had talked to a founding member of the Lucas County Gang Task Force. He was one of the founding members, and they had built those relationships with some of these gang leaders. He said it wasn't unusual for the leader of the gang to show up when they were having an issue with one of the members.
Wow.
But those relationships now, they're important, and I don't know that they're happening or they're not happening, but yeah, they are important.
And when it comes to police, you actually received a picture and a video of who is suspected to be one of these shooters in this Old West End shooting. You sent that to police and said, hey, I got this picture. We think this could be the guy from some sources. And then what happened? Yeah,
what happened, I sent those pictures to the police, and it wasn't too long after that the person that they're now looking for now, they don't know his name. But I did send them that picture, and that picture then came out, a short time later as, hey, if you know this guy, reach out to Crime Stoppers. And I actually had somebody call me who believes they do know that guy, that they have had interactions, and that he's a high school athlete around town, and he's known to be affiliated with the Bloods.
So how did the police react and do we have the picture of this guy, Alexis, that's been put out there by the police? She's going to try to find it so people see what we're talking about here. But how did the police react? Do you believe, sometimes we do have a working relationship with police and we can give them stuff that people come to us about. We want crime solved as well. Do you think they took that information from you? I
mean, I think they took that information and showed that they did something with it, because a short time later they released the very same picture that I sent them. Now, I sent them additional information, and they were very gracious and said, hey, the detective said to tell you that they appreciate these tips that we're getting from you. Because like you said, I mean, we want to solve this just like they do.
The picture on the left is Panay Taylor, who obviously is identified. Police are looking for him. And then this one on the right is the picture of the guy that, Brian, you sent to the police. What do we know about what could happen next here? We know that sometimes things don't just lie when it comes to gangs. What are police going to be looking to do here as they try to capture these guys, and what could happen if history repeats itself?
Yeah, I mean, what I hope happens is that they're very aware of the fact that retaliation could happen. When we've seen gang incidents in the past, we've seen a retaliation. You know, back in the day, the gang task force guy told me that whole thing started because they had 13 shootings in 13 days. And those were all retaliatory type shootings. So hopefully, you know, they can get ahead of it and stop it.
And we have had 5 shootings just this week, at least 5 shootings. Don't know if any of them are related, but I also want to point out just quickly, because this person is on my heart, and that is Kolipkowski's family, and his murder is unsolved. And it was very, very similar. It happened on Lincolnshire over by Costco last year. He and his fiance were driving down the street, and it's alleged that some gang members were shooting at each other, and he was shot in the head, just an innocent bystander. Another woman had bullets go through her living room. So the problem here is people who are minding their own business are no longer left out of the violence.
Yeah, you know, some of the guns that these gang members are using, I mean, they're very high-powered guns. And if anybody who's familiar with guns, you know, some of these, you know, semi-automatics, even automatics in some cases, they're difficult to aim, and sometimes you just don't know where those bullets are going to go, and innocent bystanders are kind of caught in the crossfire.
All right, Brian, thanks so much for looking into this. You can see his story coming up tonight at 6 on WTOL 11 News. We'll be right back.